Cenk's website. So let's go ahead and look at his website here. So it says Cenk for America. There it is. It says the most important election of our lifetimes. We need a new candidate. It says Biden is 13 points lower than when he barely beat Trump in the Electoral College, 44,000 votes. Biden is 24 points behind Trump on the economy, the most important issue. Biden is currently trailing Trump when he has to win the popular vote by 5 points to win the Electoral College. And so then there's the donate button there. You know how that goes. Now, this part right here, policy, policy, policy. Time off for mothers, paid family leave, 84%. Now, what I think he's doing here is I think he's trying to explain to people that this is what, if Americans are polled, this is where this percentage stands. I think he probably should have pointed that out, but time off for mothers, paid family leave, 84%, higher wages, $15 minimum wage, 65%, affordable health insurance, public option, 68%, and fight corruption and gerrymandering, 90%. Now, here's a problem that I have. Higher wages, 15%. So apparently that's a poll amount or whatever. At this point, if you're running a progressive campaign, you should be advocating for higher than $15 minimum wage. I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to mention like, hey, this is what the polling result is. But notice like on Cornel West platform, he said $27 minimum wage. You should be advocating for higher than that. So I would have more information here. 3, affordable health insurance, public option. So Cenk agrees with Medicare for all. So I was kind of confused as to why he's showing how many people approve of a public option and why it says affordable health insurance instead of Medicare for all. So what does that tell you about Cenk Uygur? And this could change. This is just the beginning of the website. But what does that tell you about Cenk Uygur when we talk about policy, 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 like he just said? Does that mean that Cenk Uygur is going to run on the affordable health care public option? Or is he still going to run for Medicare for all? So these are things just to pay attention to. Just right out the gate, right? And of course, he's asking people to donate, to give him money. Now, he did talk about his announcement on TYT. One of the questions that continues to come up is the citizenship issue. We'll get to that one last because I have a lot more detail to go into in reference to that. I have a lot more to explain when it gets to the citizenship issue. So we're going to start out with what would happen in reference to his position at TYT. He is the founder of the Young Turks. Would he be able to remain there as a co-host, given the fact that he's a presidential candidate? When we think back to someone like Jesse Ventura, remember when Jesse Ventura was entertaining the idea of running for president for 2020, Jesse Ventura would have had to quit his show on RT because he couldn't have that show and at the same time run for president. So Cenk actually did respond to that. So I want to go ahead and get into that clip to show you what he plans to do in reference to TYT. Listen to this.
Guys, this is really important for you to understand. I'm on here as a guest, and I'm on many other shows as a guest. That when I do that, I'm running for my campaign, okay? But when I'm on as a host, that's my daytime job. So some people are mechanics, some people are, for most of the people running, they're usually some sort of lobbyist, consultant, disguised as a politician, etc. Right? So for me, I have to earn a living. So I'm going to stay on the show, but I am not allowed to talk about things that are directly related to the Democratic primary. I can comment about all the other news, and I can even comment about Biden and Harris. And by the way, if you notice in the last week, I've given Biden a ton of credit for some of the things that he's done, the student debt relief, the job numbers are great. I think I make a better case for Biden than he does, right? And that's part of why he's such a bad candidate, even though he has had some accomplishments.
Did everybody here catch what he just did there? So to answer that question, it looks like he's going to continue to stay on the show, even as a presidential candidate. But he said that he's not allowed to obviously talk about the Democratic primary. And then he goes on to talk about the Democratic primary. He goes on to talk about, here's some of the great things that Joe Biden did. Pay attention to that, because what that means is that along the way, if Cenk Uygur does drop out, or if he doesn't drop out, and Joe Biden gets the nomination, Cenk Uygur is going to endorse Joe Biden because he's going to point out those things that he just mentioned to you. And then also the threat of Donald Trump. And then progressives will be right back where they were in 2020 and right back where they were in 2016. So pay attention to that. Okay, let's continue.
But so we religiously are going to keep that separate, okay?
All right, so I wanted to allow the
1 second. So he says that they're going to keep it separate, but what does that mean for the other co-hosts at TYT? What are they supposed to do? Because the thing is, let's just be real. That would just be like if one of us at RBN was running for president. We're all a part of the network. Are we not going to in turn support our own member that's running for president? Are the hosts at TYT like just not going to, are they going to say, yeah, Cenk, I'm not going to support your presidential campaign? Are they just not going to say like, please explain this to me, guys. You tell me that there's not going to be any type of pressure for Anna, JR, John, the rest of them at TYT to endorse and support Cenk Uygur? To me, it just comes across as a conflict of interest. He said he has to make a living. I totally understand that. Cenk, you just published a book. You're going on to different podcasts promoting your book. You're going to make money from that book. So I still find it very strange for him to remain on that. Just like if I ran for office, which I would never do. Okay, let's make that clear. If I ran for office, which I would never do, I would not continue hosting a political show because that's not fair. Obviously, I'm going to promote myself. Obviously, you know, if I had other people on this show with me, obviously I would feel some kind of way if they didn't back my candidacy. So it puts the commentators there in a tough position as well. Just keeping it real. To me, it seems like a conflict of interest. Let's continue.
Audience to weigh in a little bit. I don't want to be all negative, so I'll read the positive comments as well, starting with 420 JR Man, who says, vote for Cenk Uygur, our POTUS 24. Progressive Bandito says Cenk 2024. Fortnite Pro, AKA Be Kind Dragon, says, I'm voting for you because we must win. Lisa Schuster, he needs to tell us how he pronounces his last name.
Yeah, that's super fair. It's for those of you who are new to it, and for a lot of people that are older to it. Okay, my name is difficult. Cenk, this is pronounced like a J, Cenk, and then Uygur, Cenk Uygur. Okay, and it's cenkforamerica.com. Yes, it's CENK foramerica.com. But don't worry, we got almost all the spellings, so you can spell it any way you like, and you'll probably get to us anyway.
Patches the Fury is concerned that you running in a Democratic primary is going to help Trump win. What is your response to that?
So two things, guys. I'm going to be the main Democrat in the race actually running against Trump. So, you know, nothing against Marianne Williamson, but her voice just can't get out, right? And it's not her fault, but it hasn't, right? So.
And Cenk's voice will be able to get out because you have to remember that Cenk Uygur also worked at MSNBC. He worked in mainstream media before. So you see how this is the thing when I talk about connections. Cenk knows I may be able to get into some of the spaces that Marianne was not able to get into because I already have a background and I have colleagues and I have connections in mainstream media. So it's going to be a lot easier for me than it would be for Marianne. Plus, I own this damn network that I'm on right now. You know, he said all these things about Mary. This is funny to me because he said all these things about Marianne before. She's the best person in the race in the Democratic primary. And I said, if you think Marianne is the best person, then why are you running against her? Because let's be clear, people, for those of you who do still believe in that process of putting progressives through the Democratic Party, essentially, isn't this going to split the vote? For those who still want to vote in the Democratic primary, isn't this going to split the vote between Marianne Williamson and Cenk Uygur? Or is Cenk Uygur expecting Marianne to drop out? Let's continue. He says he's going all the way.
But Biden refuses to run against Trump. He refuses to run against McCarthy and Scalise and all these guys. When's the last time you heard Biden take on Kevin McCarthy? Maybe never, right? Isn't that amazing that the leader of the Democratic Party will not fight the Republicans. I'm gonna get in the race, whichever show I go on, not just this show, but the other shows that'll have me on. I'm gonna explain. Donald Trump is a little tiny baby. He bankrupted 6 different companies. His daddy gave him money. Here, I have a nickname for Donald Trump already. See, already, like no other Democrat would do that. Oh, that's not classy. We just sit here and lose in a super classy way. Well, I'm not classy, okay? So his name from now on is Spoiled Donnie. So Spoiled Donnie got $413 million from his dad, and then he sucked his thumb until he lost it all. Total, utter loser. The weakest man in America, the most insecure, most thin-skinned man in America. And he sucks at everything he does. Everyone here, 40 out of 44 cabinet officials that served under his term will not endorse him. Because if you're in a room with Donald Trump, you realize what a lunatic, what a madman. And now he's going around saying that he's going to destroy our government. He thinks he's going to suspend our Constitution. For God's sake, Democrats, run against Donald Trump. So that's what I'm going to do. And so, but guys, I promise you that if it looks like, oh my God, no, the Democrats coalesce again, and they're like, no, we want to lose with Biden. We'd rather lose with Biden than have a real candidate. And besides this, Trump's going to do a giant tax cuts for corporations again, right? So if they coalesce around him, and it looks like, look, I've pounded this guy for 3 months, and he's not going away, and I don't want to do damage. No, mission number 1 is beat Trump. Beat Trump, beat Trump, beat Trump. So we're gonna do that together. If it's not working and it's not going in that direction, we're not gonna do that, okay? We're gonna fight super hard against Trump.
No, I don't.
What does that really mean? Because you notice that he said if the Democrats get together and they coalesce, listen, I promise you guys, I promise you, he sounds like a used car salesman. I promise you guys, we're gonna, I'm gonna go hard. No, he's not. We already know what's going to happen. We already know that they're not going to let Cenk have the nomination, just like they're not going to let Marianne have the nomination. Cenk Uygur knows this. He knows about the DNC fraud lawsuit. Like, this is not new to him. Cenk just published a book, and what Cenk is doing a book tour. Let me get out there, run for president, buy my book, buy my book. He's going to be like, Cenk 2024, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Oh, you want to vote for me? You want to donate? Great. Why are you here? Buy my book, buy my book. That's what this is going to be. Don't you find it strange he decides to run right after he just published that book? Let's continue.
How you've even thought about this. So let's get ahead of ourselves a little bit. Reaper Dragon wants to know, if you were to win the nomination, would you consider Marianne as a running mate? And if not, who would you consider? Cenk 2024.
Yeah, so no, I don't. I haven't picked a vice presidential candidate, but bless your heart for asking. Okay, so Marianne's wonderful, but guys, let's whisper of a dream. There are an amazing number of progressives in this country. Okay, sure, vice president, but think of Secretary of Labor, think of Secretary of the Treasury, think of the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, being progressives. I know I'm driving away establishment people. They're like, oh my God, they would do good in this country. They would try to help real people. Don't do that. That's what my guess is what the mainstream media will say. But I will give you the most spectacular cabinet you have ever seen. JenkForAmerica.com.
Solo.
And that's where some people are assuming that Nina Turner may come in. There are talks of that. Like, some people believe that Nina Turner starting that workers' organization and Cenk Uygur announcing his presidential run, that somehow these two are going to be tied together and she may be involved in Cenk Uygur's campaign. Now, I don't know that for sure, but that is what some people are assuming. There's one more question here I want you to hear, and then I have other information I want to explain to you.
6, who resubscribed for 28 months. Thank you for that. Thank God someone is running for president that actually cares about the American people and not the American corporations. So you are getting a lot of support from our audience, but Galfar71 says, why would someone vote for you when you were already saying you aren't in it to win it?
No, I'm in it to win it, brother. So thank you for the question. So listen, there's layers to this, right? Layer number 1 is Biden's gonna lose. We need as many people in this race as possible. So now if I was a normal politician, I would say, No, I don't want other people in the race. It's about me, 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 me. That's how almost all politicians think, right? No, I'm telling you guys, I'm a proxy. Let's go. Let's get everybody in here. Now, does that mean I'm going to leave when they get out? No. When they get in, I'm going to kick their ass. And if I don't, and you pick one of them, great, no problem. I believe in democracy. I believe in primaries. But I also believe that I make a way better case for the Democratic Party than any of those guys do. Do any of those guys fight for you like I fight for you? Are they going to support the most popular policies and then tell you how they're going to do it? I mean, we got paid family leave at 84%. So if you can't do that, you're saying I'm an incompetent party or I don't want to do that. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is not pass the laws. I'm going to do the thing that's going to help pass the laws. I'm going to call Chuck Schumer and say, you better fire that parliamentarian. If he or she is not fired by the end of the day, you're going to have giant trouble. Again, people on TV will go, oh, you can't do that. That is not polite. No, there ain't going to be no filibuster. Well, I'm either going to break those senators or they're going to break me, but we're going to end that filibuster. I mean, if a guy like me wins, that means we got a Democratic House, we got a Democratic Senate, and we're going to pass these damn laws. We're going to pass them, and there ain't nothing in the world that can stop me. So look, guys.
Yes, it is. It's called corporations. It's called corporate greed. That's what's going to stop you. Is money is going to stop you, because the thing is, the majority of the Democrats in the House and the Senate don't agree with the progressive policies. That's the thing. He said, we're going to pass this into, Cenk, I really do think, if he decides to pivot away from this gig, maybe he could sell cars. Maybe he has the rhetoric down. He has the demeanor. You ever go to a used car salesman? He has a demeanor to just say, listen, this car, yeah, it's like 15 years old, but look, whoa, look. This baby has lasted for a long time. So that tells you you're getting something that's very quality. You're getting a quality vehicle here if it's been around this long. Yeah, I know one of the wheels are falling off, but look, there's an extra one in the trunk. You can just throw that on there. This is going to be great. This baby, you're going to drive in this car and you're going to ride this baby into the sunset and you're going to overlook the ocean and everything's going to be great. Yeah? Oh, while you're at it, buy my book. That's what he reminds me of. Now, I want to get into the third issue, which I think is the one that most people have questions about. And that's the citizenship issue. So Cenk Uygur was born in Istanbul. He wasn't born in the US. In fact, when he announced this on Twitter, community notes referenced that he was not eligible. So Bree actually retweeted this. She said, tough community note. It says, yes, I'm running against Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination. Joe Biden is down 24 points on the economy. He has no ability to make up that kind of ground on the most important issue. We need a new candidate now. And apparently Twitter put a community note here. It says, readers added context. Cenk Uygur was born in Istanbul, Turkey, and this is constitutionally ineligible to run for president of the United States of America as stated by Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the US Constitution. So it was really kind of funny that like that just came from Twitter. So that's just one of the community notes, right? But we're going to get into all of that. So one of the things that he said is that case law is clear. Naturalized citizens can run for president. Schneider is clear that treating natural born citizens and naturalized citizens differently is contrary to the Fifth Amendment. Forbidding naturalized citizens from being president or vice president is a form of discrimination that limits their options and treats them as second-class citizens. But there's even a community note here. And so Twitter added this message that says, Schneider versus Rusk hasn't been recognized or upheld by the US Supreme Court or any other authoritative legal body in the context of naturalized citizens running for president. So Twitter's just been coming in to correct him there. But now there's more. So he actually talked about this with The Hill as well. So I want to explain this piece about the citizenship. And then I'm going to tell you about two examples in particular of how I think this would work. So it says Young Turks hosts primary bid against Joe Biden. And I want to go directly to the citizenship issue. I don't know why they have this video here. Right here. Born in Istanbul, Turkey, Uygur immigrated to the U.S. at 8 years old. He believes that the Constitution's natural born citizen clause will not prevent him in his effort, believing that he can win the battle in the Supreme Court. Now, who's in the Supreme Court? It's a conservative Supreme Court right now. Do you think the conservatives on the Supreme Court are going to be willing to help Cenk Uygur, someone who's going to be running on progressive policies, run for president? Just something to think about. He goes on to say, I have lawyered up. I have the same lawyer Senator Bernie Sanders used in both of his presidential runs. And my guess is I'm going to have some strong allies in this. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm going to the Supreme Court. Either I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. Now, this case is on our side. The precedent is definitely on our side. So what are you going to do, brother? I thought brother came from Hulk Hogan, not Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like I thought Hulk Hogan was the one that said, let me tell you about it, brother. I thought he was the brother person. But anyway, he's calling out Arnold Schwarzenegger because that was another case where Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was governor of California, and some people actually wanted him to run for president. Arnold Schwarzenegger said, I can't because I wasn't born in the United States. So he's calling out Arnold Schwarzenegger there. So he's trying to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, let's bring up two examples before I get into this article that explains how these two people were able to do it. We want to bring up the examples of Ted Cruz and John McCain. Both of them were born outside of the United States. With John McCain, let's start with him. His situation is a little bit different because John McCain was born in Panama, if I remember correctly. Both of his parents, they were stationed there at that time. They were U.S. citizens. So similar to how my sister was born in Germany, my parents are U.S. citizens. So my sister could still run for president if she wanted to, but she doesn't want to. Okay. But John McCain was born in Panama. So that's one example that people can point to. And the other example is Ted Cruz. So if I remember correctly, Ted Cruz was born in Canada, and both of them ran for president. Now, this question actually did come up back when Ted Cruz ran for president, and it was actually published in the Harvard Gazette. And let's go ahead and bring in this article here. It was a question of citizenship. So I want to explain to people how this would actually work. Legal scholars debate Cruz's eligibility to serve as president. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Is that big enough? There we go. At the forum, is Ted Cruz eligible to be president, held Friday? This was at Harvard Law School. Two constitutional scholars debated whether Cruz's birth in Calgary, Alberta, to a Cuban father and an American mother disqualifies him to serve as president. So Lawrence Tribe, the Carl M. Loeb University professor and professor of constitutional law, he argued that Cruz is ineligible to hold the presidency using what he called Cruz's own strict interpretation of the Constitution. Cruz claims that the narrow historical meaning of the Constitution is literal, except when it comes to natural born citizen clause. The crux of the matter is that the Constitution in Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 states that no person except a natural born citizen can be president. Under English common law, upon which U.S. law was based, a natural born citizen would be someone born on American soil. For Tribe, according to this definition, Cruz does not qualify. He compared Cruz to Alexander Hamilton, a founding father who was born in Nevis, but qualified as a U.S. citizen at the time of adoption of the Constitution. A former presidential candidate, John McCain, who was born in the Panama Canal Zone when it was under U.S. control. Unlike Cruz, McCain was born in a U.S. territory. So we need to remember this. His parents had been deployed to the Panama Canal Zone by the military to serve the country. But for Jack Balkin, constitutional law professor at Yale University, Cruz is a natural born citizen because under U.S. immigration law in 1970, he automatically became an American because his mother was one. The law grants birthright citizenship to a child born overseas if one parent is a U.S. citizen. So the question that we're going to have to ask, were either one of Cenk's parents U.S. citizens? Let's continue. Let's go down here. Tribe and Balkin did agree that the contingent arguments, good grief. Tribe and Balkin did agree that the contingent arguments could be made both in favor of and against Cruz's eligibility by using different interpretations of the Constitution and existing laws. So that's a picture of one of them. Tribe said he'd be open to interpretations allowing a flexible reading of the natural born citizen clause. A self-described liberal, Tribe represented Democratic candidate Al Gore in Bush versus Gore during the dispute over the 2000, that we ain't gonna say that on here. As an unapologetic living constitutionalist, I'm someone who believes that constitutional terms of art like natural born citizen can be flexible enough to accommodate changing natural values, experiences, and practices. So I'm at least open to the view that Cruz should be deemed eligible under the expanded understanding of the natural born citizen clause. For Cruz, a U.S. senator from Texas who was campaigning in nearby New Hampshire Friday in advance of Tuesday's primary election there, his citizenship is settled law. But after Cruz's surging victory in Iowa, his Republican rival Donald Trump, who came in second, renewed his attacks over the issue. Trump has joked that Cruz should run for office in Canada. Cruz renounced his latent Canadian citizenship when he ran for office in the United States. Tribe and Balkin did agree that the matter is not settled. The question is anything but open and shut. In no possible sense has this issue been settled, either by the Supreme Court or political process or by popular consensus. So I know that was a lot there. But technically, if Cenk goes to the Supreme Court again, I don't see a conservative Supreme Court saying, yes, we're going to let you run, you progressive, you. I don't see that happening. But technically, he can go to the Supreme Court and be able to be president that way. So what I would say is this. I always tell you guys not to donate to these campaigns because of what we all went through with Bernie and the squad. But if you were considering donating to Cenk Uygur's campaign, which I don't think most of you are, you probably should not do that until you know for sure that this issue with the Supreme Court is settled. Otherwise, you're just throwing your money away. Okay? In fact, Eric, can you look up real quick? Can we pull up the wiki page for Cenk? Let's see if his parents are citizens, because I'm curious. And then I know. You're stupid says theoretical arguments are fun, but they're not law, Sabby. I know. But this will be interesting to see. Okay, you got it? All right, cool. Let's see something here. What we want to check for is we want to see early life and education. All right, let me see what they said, because sometimes they mention the parents and sometimes they don't. So it says he was born in Istanbul, Turkey, and immigrated with his family to the U.S. when he was 8 years old. Grew up in East Brunswick, New Jersey, graduated from Okay, it doesn't say if one of the parents was a citizen. All right, that's what I wanted to check for. But the other thing that I want to bring up as well is that, let's keep it real, folks. Like I told you again, I think we know what this is really all about. Cenk is selling a book. He's already been promoting the book. Cenk knows he's not going to win the Democratic nomination. He knows that. So this is why I'm laughing. This is why I'm laughing. And then it's like, I wonder how Marianne Williamson must feel about all this. You know, it's just, whew. All right.